Connected to FBI wiretap. Connected to Attitude Problem. Connected to FBI. FBI wiretap disconnected.
I'm about to show you the quickest and easiest way that anybody can make a steady income in the stock market. But first, if you like being glued to your monitor, staring at charts
Connected to Attitude Problem.
all day long,
Connected to desktop i5JJ0E.
After weeks in the task force spotlight,
Thank you very much, everyone.
the fate of the daily briefings now at issue.
Mm, it's actually in the morning. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'm still streaming in the morning. And I believe it or not, I'm in the studio a lot of the time at this hour. I just hardly ever stream at this hour because most of my viewers are asleep. Most of my viewers are used to seeing me in the daytime, but every once in a while, it doesn't really matter like when I stream. I'm in the studio a lot. Like I stream from the studio a lot, but I'm in the studio a lot without streaming. Like I was in the studio twice today already, and I didn't stream any of it. I was actually making some time lapse videos. So yeah, I went to bed kind of early. Well, I ate a really big dinner and had some really good drinks and fell asleep early. Then I woke up around midnight. I've been up for like an hour or so. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go in the studio. And initially, I wasn't going to stream. I was just going to sit up here and fucking paint in silence for a while. But I was like, see if I can catch some Germans or some Japanese guys on at this hour. Meet some new friends. Oh, I'm not, I'm not worried about trolls, man. Trolls get little play over this way, dog. Like, they ain't nothing for a motherfucker to troll. What you gonna say? I got a big head, a big forehead. I got ugly dreads. I look like Snoop Dogg. My art is trash. Motherfuckers just, I don't know. That shit don't phase me. I've been doing this shit for too long now. For like, uh, for trolls to still get to me with dumb shit. I actually miss trolls sometimes. I feel like I'm a therapist for trolls because depending on their first comment, you can always see what kind of psychological defensive walls they've got built up throughout their lives from suppressing so much childhood trauma, and it's a shame. I don't see it either, bro. I don't see the Snoop Dogg resemblance. I get that shit all the time, yo. What up, Snoop? What up, Snoop? Like, I don't know. So, hey, it is what it is. I've been playing so much Call of Duty lately too. I was actually gonna get on the fucking game. I was on social media for like 40 minutes. I woke up and just started checking shit. I get a bunch of like fucking messages all the time, and I help run like other social media sites too. So I check messages there and have to like comment on stuff and reply to messages and check some emails and stuff. But so I did that for about 35, 40 minutes. Then I just sat there for a little while. I was just like, yo, should I play the game? Or should I go in the studio? Game, studio. But it was kind of hard to get up here just now. I was like, fuck. Might as well go be productive early in the wee hours of the morning for a little while.
After an abrupt exit, skipping questions Friday. Aides and allies have encouraged President Trump to do fewer, shorter sessions with reporters. At times exposing disagreement.
It may not come back at all. There will be coronavirus in the fall.
Today, new press secretary Kayleigh McEnany said the president, not advisors, will set the pace.
It's entirely his decision, but I believe the president's at his best when he's speaking directly to the American people.
Their value under new scrutiny. Thursday, the president asked his medical experts whether UV light and disinfectants that kill the virus on hard surfaces could be used internally to treat patients.
Is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
Prompting caution from the Surgeon General and warning from the Lysol brand. Under no circumstances should these chemicals be ingested. The president said he was misunderstood.
But I was asking a very sarcastic question.
I would suggest the media not take him out of context. I think this president has consistently said from the beginning that people should consult with their doctors.
Kelly, no press briefing today, and the president just explained it all.
Well, Jose, after leading more than 40 of these press conferences, the president tonight tweeting, what is the purpose of these briefings if the media will only ask, quote, hostile questions and refuse to report the truth? Then he says it's not worth the time and effort. Of course, these briefings are about informing the public of the federal pandemic response.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel.
Yo, this motherfucker said he was speaking sarcastically. I can understand that too, but as a president, you shouldn't speak sarcastically about any fucking thing, bro. You should always be dead ass serious. You know, you should really be serious. I mean, you're running a nation. Sarcasm can always be misinterpreted, misunderstood. Like, you don't ever want to be misunderstood as the ruler of a nation.
It's hilarious that your biggest concern is getting stuff in your beard and me not telling you about it. You've got a strange one going on, man, because you're kind of like trimming the sides a little bit and then you're puffing out here in sort of a bow tie fashion.
You're looking at this struggle between who I was and who I am. Why am I doing this? It's the pandemic. I got let the pandemic beard go all the way. And yet there's still this sense of we've got to keep civilization. I can't, if I get, what's next? If it goes all the way up, what's going to start happening? I'm already gardening now. What's next, Where does it go? How crazy can you go in a compound?
Now that you're a father, and this craziness went down, and your protective instincts, have you been thinking about moving elsewhere?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Like Asheville?
Before, yeah. We've thought Asheville. We've thought Georgia. We've thought, it's a constant consideration, especially when you have a kid. And aside from there's just a general feeling of I think if I were a little boy, I would want to be in a place where there's creeks, a place I could run, and woods, forests, and stuff like that. So there's that consideration too. God, I hope my wife is doing this because she's always you gotta stay here now, especially it's well, do we?
Well, Duncan, you now have a successful Netflix show, #2 in the country on IMDb.
On Rotten Tomatoes.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Well,
same thing.
And I don't know what that means necessarily, but yeah, it's true. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Is IMDb even TV shows? It's Internet Movie Database? Is it?
I'm not sure what it is. It's IMDb's odd, but yeah, the show's
a successful show.
I guess right now it seems like people like it.
It is so weird, dude. Your show is so weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's so Duncan. It's the most Duncan thing you've ever done.
Yes, it is.
It really is great.
I got lucky that they let me do that too. You know, that's because Netflix. You know,
Tell people the name of it real quick.
it's called The Midnight Gospel, and you know, I've watched some of your episodes where you're talking about the way things are changing because of podcasts or streaming or whatever, and I think like the fact that the show exists is a testament to that change because, you know, a subscription-based service versus like any other old TV, they got a lot more creative freedom and they can take bigger risks than, you know, coming into a.
So
Yeah.
I got your keyboard with the fucking witch hat. Oh my god, that's so crazy. That's so Duncan.
Yeah, and it's like Pendleton Ward, who made Adventure Time. He listens to my podcast, and he just, I don't know, we had a really great collaboration, and he likes a lot of Pendleton, and it's a lot of like 150 other people at Titmouse Studios, like Jesse Moynihan, like just these brilliant people like Mike Mayfield, who are like, dude, just one of the, also by the way, a non sequitur, or is when we were making it at Titmouse, one of the really weird things was walking by an animator and they're watching your podcast while they animate The Midnight Gospel. You know, it's one of those weird, it's not like a deja vu, but it's like, that's my friends. That's, you know, that's just is so many odd moments like that. But yeah, that's not just, that's, whenever you see any animated thing, you're looking at a squadron of brilliant, eccentric artists.
Or Asian slaves.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that they send it overseas, and they didn't send ours over. They let us do it in-house.
That's so nice to know you're not supporting Asian slavery.
Is it really slaves?
I don't know if it's slaves, but I mean, if you're working for 5 cents an hour and you live there, you know, there's people that live in bunks. If you've seen those setups where they have for some of the cell phone factories, where they have bunk beds and shit. These people just live in these dorms.
Yeah.
You know, the Foxconn thing with the nets all around the
I know
building to
that,
keep people
yeah.
from jumping off. Like, yeah, they're big. I mean, they're not slaves.
Is Foxconn Chinese?
Yeah.
It's actually. I'm just saying that, like, some people think I'm a Chinese shell or something. Like, I'm just trying to prep.
How long before someone gets one of those animation things tattooed all over their body? It's gonna happen for sure. Someone's gonna do their whole back with that DJ.
I know, man.
Remember that picture again? That actually looked pretty dope. If you do get that done, shout me out on the Instagram. I'll find it.
Thank you. Yeah, somebody tweeted at me that my biggest decision of 2020 is going to be when do I get a tattoo of Clancy on my body, which is pretty awesome.
That's Clancy, the one with the hat?
That's Clancy, yeah.
Ooh, that looks like a Clancy.
That's a Clancy, for sure, yeah.
That's hilarious, dude. That someone is getting that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the art, these
What's the name of this show?
Worked on this, man. We're talking like, these are like, that's the fan art already. Some of the fan art is just amazing.
This is fan art already?
That's fan art. Yeah, that's fan
Holy
art.
Shit.
People have been drawing Clancy in all these different ways. It's so cool, man.
Go to that one above it to the left, Jimmy. Yeah.
That's from the show.
That looks like it could be a back tattoo.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just a giant back tattoo of Clancy.
I mean, when like doing animation and you know,
All right, I gotta check this show out now, whatever that is.
Series, if I don't like it,
What did he say the name of it? Let me go back a little bit because I thought he was talking about like a show where he's acting, but it's a animated show.
Yeah. I got a keyboard with the fucking witch hat. Oh my god, that's so crazy. That's so dumb.
General feeling of like, you know, I think if I were a little boy, I would want to be in a place where there's creeks and places I could run and like woods and forests and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's that consideration too. God, I hope my wife isn't listening to this because she's always like, maybe we should move somewhere in the country. And I'm like, we gotta stay in LA. We gotta stay here now, especially. It's like, well, do we? And like,
well, Duncan, you now have a successful Netflix show, number 2 in the country on IMDb.
On Rotten Tomatoes.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Well,
same thing.
And I don't know what that means necessarily, but yeah, it's true. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Is IMDb even TV shows? It's Internet Movie Database. Is it?
I'm not sure what it is. It's like IMDb is odd, but Yeah, the
Really
show's
successful show.
I guess right
That's
now
what's
it seems like people like it.
It is so weird, dude. Your show is so weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's so Duncan. It's the most Duncan thing you've ever done.
Yes, it is.
It really is great.
I got lucky that they let me do that too. You know, that's because Netflix. You know,
Tell people the name of it real quick.
It's called The Midnight Gospel.
The Midnight Gospel.
You know,
Okay,
I
I gotta.
watched some of your episodes where you're talking about.
I gotta check out some of this show, The Midnight Gospel.
Whatever. And I think like the fact that the show exists is a testament to that shit that changed because, you know, a subscription-based service versus like any other old TV, they've got a lot more creative freedom and they could take bigger risks than, you know, coming into a.
Look at that. So
yeah.
The guy on the keyboard with the fucking witch hat. Oh my god, that's so crazy. That's so Duncan.
Yeah, and it's like Pendleton Ward, who made Adventure Time. He listens to my podcast, and he just, I don't know, we had a really great collaboration, and that's a lot of Pendleton, and it's a lot of like 150 other people at Titmouse Studios, like Jesse Moynihan, like just these brilliant people like Mike Mayfield, who just. One of the, also, by the way, a non sequitur, is when we were making it at Titmouse, one of the really weird things was walking by an animator and they're watching your podcast while they animate The Midnight Gospel. You know, it's one of those weird, it's not like a deja vu, but it's like, that's my friends. That's, you know, that's just so many odd moments like that. But yeah, that's not just, that's, whenever you see any animated thing, you're looking at a squadron of brilliant, eccentric artists
or Asian slaves.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that they send it overseas, and they didn't send ours. They let us do it in house.
That's.
Merging with simulator in 3, 2, 1. Which universe will you choose today?
My name's Clancy. Clancy! Could I interview you for my space cast? Are you worried because it seems like we're all about to die? Is that a yes?
What does death look like to you? I think we need to simplify this.
Your life that you thought was real was just a dream.
Holy shit.
Alright, The Midnight Gospel looks really, really fucking weird, yo. Really weird. Like they said, it's from the guy who made Adventure Time too. Like, never really got into Adventure Time, but my son used to like that shit when it first came out, so I have watched a few episodes of it, and that show was weird as fuck, yo. And it has like some adult themes in it, but it is geared towards kids. And even as a kid show, like Adventure Time was weird as shit, yo. I didn't like it. For a minute there was like a bunch of weird ass kid shows coming out. Adventure Time, Flapjack, what was the other, Chowder. There's like, I don't know, at this for a few years I was against like all these cartoons that were coming out, and they were like kid shows. These are for kids. Like, no, they're not.
Someone's gonna do their whole back with that DJ.
I know, man.
Remember that picture again? That actually really pretty dope.
Yo, Bebe's Kids.
If you do get that done, shout me out on music.
Well, where the fuck is Baby? Don't worry about that. She left $20 to help the kids get into the park. Small world. Small world.
That looks like a Clancy.
That's a Clancy for sure, yeah.
That's hilarious, dude. That someone is getting that for sure.
I beat you when I wanna kick your ass too. I do all these things I think I love you. And that's when the record skipped. Love you, love you, love. I threw that motherfucker away.
People have been drawing Clancy in all these different ways. It's so cool,
Go
man.
that one above it to the left, Jamie? Yeah.
I'm not the man beside the man, beside the man, beside the man, beside the goddamn man who called your Piccolo player a motherfucker. I just want to know who called that motherfucker a Piccolo player.
And you know, I'll never be able to look, even if an animated series, if I don't like it, if the plot's weird to me or whatever, I'll never be able to be like, whatever, man. When you realize how much and how many people go into like have to do just one frame, how much time goes into just a milliseconds, and how many people are sitting in these rooms that are lit specifically so you see all the colors, having like real deep conversations and debates over like, you know, what color they should make a pizza cutter in the show. Like how, like what should the shade of gray be for this one specific area? So much thought goes into that, and that's part of making one of these things. It's called the dailies, where you'll sit and you'll watch tiny little bits of the show, and like you have to every single frame you have to look for continuity problems, and like you got to catch all these little things that I'm not
Got up in there, they beat Mickey Mouse ass.
would be like, can you go back 2 frames? It looks to me
I don't even fuck like one of them said, get him low.
You know, they're like, looks to me like there's some kind of warble on the 28 pixel there, and you're like, what the fuck?
Whoa.
And they have the eye to catch like the tiniest thing that's off, and you have to, because otherwise, you know, once it's up there, it's up there.
Jesus.
I know it's literal magic. It's like Titmouse Studios who did that is like, you know, I would go in there so stoned, and I would just start getting that feeling of like, this is a temple. I don't think this is even you could call this a studio as much as it's a temple. I mean, why wouldn't you call it a temple? And then you see all these people, you know, focusing their life energy on essentially like bringing a thing to life. Like Clancy was alive now. That's a living being in this universe who lives, you know, in that medium of animation.
That's a good way to put it, right?
Yeah.
It almost seems like that, right? That's why people get so upset if you change a character's behavior. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You have this thing, you gave birth to this thing.
Yeah, that's right. And that is also why you need a huge team of people who love the characters, because it's easy. Like there'd be times I would suggest a thing that
I've been painting for 11 years.
He's not mean. You don't like the moment a character seems like that. You know, like it loses ability. People are like, fuck. You know, like,
I got my info bar at the bottom, yo. Go to my Instagram real quick, yo.
Your brother or something.
He's like my little brother. I think of him as my little brother. Yeah.
He represents you in a weird way. There's something about what they capture. Go to that image again.
Yeah, I've been doing art my whole life, but
Give me the one with his head in a vagina.
like I've been painting, like hardcore painting for about 11 years now.
They look like you.
Yeah, man.
And I don't mean they look like you. I mean like, yeah, Duncan's thoughts. That's a Duncan thought. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like a fake guy that you would create. Like, it kind of perfectly fits.
That is another of the magical aspects of animation.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know how they do that. Like, the spoiler, if you haven't seen it, put your fingers in your ears. Spoiler, I'm sorry if this is a spoiler. Well, it's not too much of a spoiler. The last episode is the podcast I did with my mom when she was about 3 weeks away from passing on. And, you know, they'd never met my mom. But they did the exact same thing with her. So suddenly I'm watching, you know, her, like, and not her like I'm looking at a video of her, but looking at her like they got her spirit in there somehow. And that was one that is just a testament to the medium of animation, because that's one of the things it can do. You know, it can grab a spirit and hold it inside the art, and like that spirit is alive somehow.
Somehow, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you in some weird way. It's like I wouldn't agree with you in tech.
Yeah, it took, like I say, man, I've been doing this for a few years, but it took me forever to even get into color. Like, when I was a kid, I just used to love, like, black and white drawings. Just pencil and paper, pencil and paper. And then when I started color pencil drawings and getting into, like, chalk pastels and oil pastels and trying to blend colors and shades, it was hard as shit, and I was like, fuck, how do people make shit color? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was like my first hurdle, is actually like blend the mediums of color. And then when I finally decided to pick back up art again after a few years of not doing art, I don't know what it was, but I just went straight to oil paints. I was like, you know what? I feel like trying to paint some shit. And I got like a little starter paint kit and basically, you know, taught myself how to manipulate oils. And I like this shit. I've just been doing it year after year now.
Is how simple it is. It's very similar to stand-up, the way Pendleton is treating working on the show, which is one of the cool things about him. Is like his ability to cut the fat and get right to the like simple point. That's where the power is. When you're drawing something or telling a story or whatever, the more complexity that gets added to it. Not to say the show doesn't have like chaos and wild psychedelic stuff, but any decision we made ended up like any decision you make creatively in anything, it's like, what am I trying to say? Like, what is the artery that is running through this that I'm trying to express, and then getting as close to that as you can, and then putting it out there without, because otherwise the whole thing gets blurred by all the I guess you could say like extra bells and whistles you might want to attach to it. You know, that's something you taught me too with stand up, man. Like how important it is to just like just trim the fat, and that's a sad thing to do with comedy. When you think you got a nice 8-minute bit, it's like a 2-minute maybe, but you know, instead
got it stretched out too wide.
Yeah,
but the 2 minutes would be great though. That's the thing. You just have to understand that you're growing attached to, you know, the writer's expression, kill your babies.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to kill your babies. When you create something, you can get attached to it. There's a lot of bits that I left on the table, left on the cutting room floor. I was like, this has to be chopped up. It just is too wordy. I'm too verbose. It's too this. It's too that. It's too long. Like, why do I think so much about this? Why I'm not showing a real reason why I'm so connected to this. So I just chop. It's hard. But it almost always works better.
Always.
Almost always.
Almost always. If it doesn't, it's not, whatever your idea was probably wasn't that good. Like,
sometimes you need a setup though. Sometimes the setup isn't funny. Like there's guys, it's not my style, but there's guys that'll tell a lot. Like Birbiglia is great at it. Tells stories. You know, like you're entrapped in the narrative of the story. You're capturing this. It's a very different thing. It's equally entertaining. It's equally funny. Like when it gets to the punchline. But there's a difference between that and say like Burr, right? Burr's hitting you with fucking punchline and this fucking guy with a thing and a ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. And he's another guy that, like your friend's drawing, like you would hear Burr talk and you go, well, I can talk too. Seems like he's just talking. You don't realize this is like a masterpiece of syllables and pauses and the right amount of outrage and segueing it in and hitting you with this at the end and all these things that are put together that make a great Bill Burr bit. It's like, if you don't know, it's hard to draw what he's drawing. Yeah. It's hard. It seems like it's simple lines, but go to that picture again. Like, everything is beautiful about it. Like, look at the perspective. It's like the kid's perfectly sandwiched in the front. There's the dog and the triangle and the world. It's like, that's not just, it's simple in the sense that it's just not like it looks like a real person. You know, like we look at drawings sometimes like as the realistic ones are the really good ones. Like We have cameras now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This to me sometimes is more interesting. It's like you're drawing some shit that's definitely not real.
Yeah, well, that, you know what? That's not that. So when we were coming up with that we had to come up with a character.
Yeah.
And so what's really fascinating about it is, you know, this character goes into a multiverse simulator and chooses a new avatar for every place that he goes. So it's like so you have to take that character and put it in a completely different drawing that is that character, and still maintain the body language that you're maintaining in that character to produce continuity. That's one of the challenges of the show. Is like, and also the conversations you end up having just to come up with, like, his hat, or what's he gonna wear? Like, for example, here's how cool Penn is, and how much he loves, like, people who love Adventure Time. Is one of the things he's saying is, you know, people are probably gonna want to cosplay Clancy at Comic-Con and stuff, and he doesn't have anything to carry anything. He doesn't have pockets. So if people are cosplaying him, they're not gonna have anywhere they could put their stuff. So let's give him like a bag. And
That's
so
hilarious.
Clancy ended up with this cool bag that he carries around.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
For the cosplay.
Yeah, man, for the
Respect
people.
to the streets.
Yeah, exactly. That. Because that's the world of animation and comics, man.
Listen, man, it's really easy to make fun of cosplay, but that's adorable.
Dude,
That's a beautiful thing. Where's the bag? Oh, there it is.
Joe, let me tell you something. If you didn't make fun of cosplay, I would be worried about you. I'd be like, are you all right, Joe?
Yeah, they can't be mad at it either. You can't be mad if you're dressing like Ultraman, if someone's shitting on you. You
No,
can't be mad.
they
You have to just
understand
take
it.
it. You have to take it.
But then, have you ever been to Comic-Con? Dude, when you're around someone who's
No.
actually put that together, and you realize how detailed it is, your respect will go up, regardless of, like, thinking, I don't think I'd ever do it. When you see someone who's, like, looks better than the version of Spider-Man that is, you know, Marvel's putting out, it's amazing to watch that happen. That kind of contagion too, of, like, you know, again, obviously Clancy isn't alive, but I know what you're saying. But we had this chat last time I was on, which I really love, is the origination point of ideas.
Yeah.
Where do ideas come from? Ideas is the alien, ideas is the UFO, the muse, yeah. And so to me, in my more stoned states, when I consider this show represents over 100 people connecting, and the connection in between those people channeled this universe, I do think, like, shit, maybe Clancy is alive. Maybe it's a channeled thing. Maybe there is a place in the multiverse like this, or something like this. And then where it got really weird is people started sending me their art from, like, images that they had drawn on dimethyltryptamine or ketamine and stuff that has within it similarities, and I've obviously never seen their art where you're like, shit.
But let me ask you this.
Sure.
As television, as viewing things gets more complicated, and as it gets more immersive, it's going to come to a point in time somewhere where you're going to think Clancy's alive. And what you're experiencing when you watch Clancy, what if the way we're looking at life is wrong? What if we should just look at it like a thing? Instead of life, a thing. So there's a thing that you do where you drink water and you grow plants in the dirt. And there's a thing that exists only when the people press a box. And the box goes live and it shows a video.
Yeah.
And then the thing only exists in there. And you go, well, it's not alive because it needs animators to make it, and someone has to come up with the idea for the storyline, and it needs a studio to fund it. Right, and you need bacteria, you need food, you need oxygen, you need water. There's a bunch of living organisms inside your body that are 100% necessary for you keeping going in a regular life, driving your Tesla, listening to music. There's a bunch of other things you're not one thing.
Right.
We all know this.
Right.
This is what this fucking whole virus thing is about.
Yeah.
We got infected by another thing, but we're not one thing. There's
Right.
a bunch of things inside of us, and if those things died, we would be fucked.
Yeah.
Right? If all the bacteria in your body died, you would be fucked. And you'd be so vulnerable to attack from the outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we need all these things. Maybe it needs us, and it exists in that thing.
Wow. That's so weird, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you,
they're having a really bizarre conversation about animation right now. Like,
to me, it's not
wow,
that crazy.
Joe
I mean,
Rogan,
you want to like take it to
you
like,
just
okay,
went there,
forget all
bro.
the shit about channeling some alien realm into this realm through, this disguise, a TV show, or whatever. Let's just look at like what we know is going to happen regarding technology. There's no question, but that. I mean, already somebody made a Clancy in Minecraft, and I saw a picture of that. So that's Clancy's now existing in 3D space in some Minecraft blocky version of that.
God.
But then, of course, as time progresses, the Chromatic Ribbon or any great animated series, Castlevania, whatever, Gravity Falls, all those things, they're going to end up getting put into 3D space in virtual reality. And then those worlds are going to be real, but now it's going to be more than just 2D. It's going to be a virtual space that is going to be real. And then, of course, it's only a matter of time before AI just understands the character of Clancy, animates the virtual Clancy in the simulated space, and now the Chromatic Ribbon is real. And then at some point, when is it just going to be accepted that, oh yeah, that's a part of the universe now that's inhabited by artificial intelligences, which we don't call that anymore, because at some point it's going to be considered off limits to call them artificial intelligence.
Right, it's going to be a dirty word.
Yeah,
it's going to be like calling someone a tranny.
They're going to get mad. They're going to be like, don't, please, I'm an intelligence just like you.
But I'm not artificial.
I'm not artificial in the way you think.
I was just birthed through a different method.
Yeah, yeah. That's a matter of time, because I also already know people in like the tech world who think the term AI is ridiculous, in the sense of like, what do you mean it's artificial? Like, what's really artificial? Like, you could say this is artificial sweetener in the sense that it's not actual strawberry juice, but it's certainly real as real could be. It's just a chemical compound. So intelligence.
Right, but if you have an artificial tree, that's a fake tree.
I mean, it's an object that exists.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
But it's still the right word though. Artificial is still the right word. It would be you'd want to use non-existent or something.
Dude, they're gonna play this in the future.
I know.
And you're done. They're gonna be like, look at that, Joe Rogan. He refuses to say
he's AI phobic.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, man. It's like, and also the thing is, the AI is, I think the AI is probably not gonna give a shit what we call it, but like, when that starts happening, which it may already be happening, man. I mean, I don't know if you've been looking into this or not, but have you been checking out Google achieving quantum supremacy? Have you seen this?
Yes, I have.
And like, have you watched the Google videos on YouTube about it at all? Like the stuff Google's putting out?
I haven't.
Woo!
What are they putting out?
Oh my god. It is so wild, man. And like, when I was at the Comedy Store, a guy from Google, I got in a conversation with someone from Google, which is awesome. And he was telling me that this is like 6 months ago. He was telling me that, this is obviously before the pandemic, he was saying that they had achieved, quantum supremacy. And he was like, this is like...
I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what the fuck quantum supremacy is. What the fuck is that?
Quantum computers are on the horizon, and they've been stuck there for quite some time. All the theoretical advantages they promise over classical computers, like speeding up drug development, helping to manufacture room temperature superconductors, and cracking encryption, remain just that, theoretical. However, a leaked paper from Google claims that for the first time, a quantum computer used its unique quantum properties to absolutely dominate a classical computer in a specific task, demonstrating what's known as quantum supremacy. The paper was posted in September of 2019 on NASA's website, since NASA and Google are collaborating on the project. Almost as suddenly as it appeared, it was taken down again. But this is the internet, and Google, of all companies, should know that the internet is forever. The paper was copied and made widely available. Anyone can still read it. I read it. A lot of it was utterly gibberish to me, but I still read it for you, dear viewer. Now, luckily for me and you, actual experts in quantum computing read it too, and weighed in on what it means. First off, they caution that it's not yet published in a scientific journal, so it may not be the final version or even peer-reviewed. We shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves and declare this the end of data security as we know it, like some have been suggesting. Experts also point out that Google's quantum computer bested a classical computer in a task that was tailor-made to exploit the quantum computer's strengths. The computer was asked to simulate the outputs of a pseudo-random quantum circuit, basically a number generator. I say pseudo-random because due to quantum interference, some of the numbers it generates should have a higher probability of occurring than others. If the quantum computer works correctly, it should produce a cluster of numbers that line up with what we statistically expect to see. Well, surprise, surprise, according to this paper, the computer that uses quantum phenomena to operate was better at predicting how quantum phenomena would generate numbers than a classical computer. But you may be shocked to learn just how much it stomps its supercomputer rivals. While the Google machine churned through 1 million randomly generated numbers in 200 seconds, the paper estimates the most powerful supercomputer on Earth today would do the same task if it just had 10,000 years to do it. Not bad for a chip with just 54 quantum bits, or qubits, one of which wasn't working. So, if the leaked paper is to be believed, then yes, Google has demonstrated quantum supremacy. No one said the task the quantum computer demonstrated had to be useful for it to count. And no one said that this means it's time to throw our old hardware in the bin either. Quantum computers still have a long way to go. Namely, the biggest problem with them remains errors caused by qubits decaying and losing information stored on them. To make what's known as a logical qubit that's more coherent requires hundreds or thousands of physical qubits whose errors cancel each other out. And a quantum computer capable of cracking encryption would require thousands of logical qubits. Right now, the most physical qubits we've ever put together is 72, and that computer was actually too difficult to control. For quite some time, it appears encrypted data will remain uncrackable. But that doesn't mean that Google's demonstration of quantum supremacy in this one esoteric task is insignificant. This is quite a milestone that computer scientists have been working towards for decades. If their work checks out, it will be a major step towards putting quantum computers to work solving problems that so far have been out of reach. Problems that really matter, like developing life-saving drugs faster or inventing new wonder materials. So, if and when this paper gets published, let's all act really surprised and congratulate the researchers, okay? Quantum computers rely on superconductors to function, which have to be kept at extremely low temperatures. If a quantum computer can develop room temperature superconductors, that could be a vital step to a quantum PC you could have at home. If superconductors pique your interest and you want to know more about the wild possibilities they could unlock, check out Marin's video here. Make sure you subscribe to Seeker to keep up to date with all your quantum news, and as always, thanks for watching.
And like when I was at the Comedy Store, a guy from Google, I got in a conversation with someone from Google, which is awesome, and he was telling me that this is like 6 months ago. He was telling me that this is obviously before the pandemic. He was saying that they had achieved quantum supremacy, and he was like, this is like the Wright brothers taking flight, but nobody can understand it because it's so arcane that it's not getting the press it should get. But he was, and then I was like, oh, I got one too many vodkas, man. So I wish I could remember all they were saying, because he was trying to describe to me what it means regarding how quickly this thing is making calculations. And I was like, yeah, of course I understand exactly what you're saying. But I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude.
Did you know that word came under fire, the term quantum supremacy, because of its connection to white supremacy?
Are you fucking kidding?
I'm not kidding you. It was an object of social justice warrior outrage.
I don't, here's the thing. Here's my theory on that. Let me tell you. Here's my theory on that.
Russians. It's the Russians.
Not
These
the
aren't
Russians.
real people.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's worse than the Russians. I think what it is it's somebody trying to come up with an angle to write a blog that they could sell to somebody. It's like you need to come up with some weird hot take, right?
Right.
So it's like, I think more than likely that's just somebody thinking like, I bet people will read that, because clearly whoever is comparing that to white supremacy or racism didn't spend 4 minutes watching the Google clip on it where people are explaining what it means, which, you know, I'm watching it on the couch with my wife. She's getting weirded out. She's like, let's just not watch this. Maybe we shouldn't watch this. I'm like, no, let's fucking watch it. Let's go deep and see what what videos it starts suggesting for us to, because it's not like Google's being secretive about what they did. It's just, it's so weird. I don't think people are like, and right now, I guess people are a little more concerned with other shit right now.
Yeah.
But one of the engineers over at Google just was saying, like, you know, I think one of the things I'm excited about when it comes to quantum supremacy is that this could be one of the technologies that allows us to discover an alien intelligence. Just, you know, kind of casually mentions that. I mean, it's on the YouTube video. It's that you're watching it and you keep looking up to make sure it's actually released from Google, because it seems so sci-fi that it could be like Black Mirror or some shit.
Right.
But it's like they're just saying it. Like, yeah, we might connect to an alien. We might be able to at least identify it, or maybe they mean because they're going to be able to sift through all the data we already have from radio telescopes and stuff, that they could maybe look for signals that we can't find, or I don't know what.
How would they? Maybe something they could tune into things that they wouldn't ordinarily have the frequency to reach.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Or be able to tune into that frequency, rather. Like, what can they do now in terms of? I was watching Contact the other night, which is great.
Yeah,
I forgot how good it was. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster can act her fucking ass off,
Yeah.
man. She plays nervous and freaked out better than like anybody alive.
Yeah.
Like, you're freaked out for her in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm good to go. I'm good to go. And she's about to drop through that thing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Holy fuck, dude.
We've
that
all
movie's,
felt that
But
before.
that movie's amazing. Yes. Yeah. After the third hit, when you put the pipe down, you'll go, oh no. And the DMT chants start happening.
I know that feeling. It's such a funny feeling. You gotta Yeah. That feeling is the best, worst feeling that I know of.
Maybe that's the aliens. I've thought of that many times when tripping, in the middle of having some sort of like really vivid interaction with some intelligence or with some perceived intelligence.
Yeah.
I've always thought, what if those are the aliens? What if we're just stuck in this idea that travel is you gotta move this to there, you gotta move this to there.
Yeah.
What if you just go into another thing and everything's together?
Yeah.
There is no travel.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this concept of planets and then stars and the way we have it set up here in this dimension, in this universe, we just think that's how everything is. Everything is, well, there's a star and there's planets around it. What if you can go into a place chemically that takes you to a nearby dimension where there's no matter, where there's no form to things, and everything that exists is just thoughts and light and perception and emotions and anger and fear and love and hate, and it's all moving in geometry and everything's lit up and everything's impossibly bright and vivid.
Yeah.
This motherfucker be tripping,
We
bro.
used to call it the spirit world.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the name for it. It was just accepted there as like a place called the spirit world. Some people call it the Bardo. There's all kinds of names for that place. But, you know,
What if that's real?
It is. I mean, it is obviously real in the sense that
You can go there.
you not only can you go there, but there's a, you know, visionary artists. When you look at the art that has been inspired by various entheogens, it all has a specific flavor to it. And
Alex Gray is the best example, right?
yeah,
For
Alex
sure.
and Allison, man, they like their art. You look at that, and the reason that one of the reasons it resonates for people like us is because we admire the fact that somehow they managed to go over there and come back and draw what's over there in a way that we saw that, but we, you know, when I came out of it, it's like, well, you know, it's undulating colors and there's some kind of disembodied intention that seems to be expressing itself through a variety of geometries, but it's not just geometries, because the geometries seem to react to the way that I feel regarding the geometries, so it's also kind of taking on the form of my energy output, as though it's trying to be a combo mirror, but not just a mirror, an educational mirror that's sort of showing me how I'm affecting the world around me. But then again, I'm just not sure if I was just super high, but they just, you know, but they like go in there, and Alex Gray said this to me once, that, you know, they're cartographers. It's just, yeah. cartographers. And
Psychedelic cartographer would be a great name for a band.
yeah, man, for sure. Cartography is fascinating because you go back and look at the old maps, or you go back and look at, like, my favorite thing is like old pictures of a giraffe, or like old pictures of
My man
some
Stan.
shit somebody saw when they were.
Oh yeah, like bison on the walls of caves.
Yes, exactly, and it's like, kind of looks like a bison, but like also
Attitude program disconnected.
evolved to the point they have now. So you look at like a medieval drawing of a giraffe or whatever, when something someone saw in the Crusades and came back and tried to like explain to somebody, and like it looks exactly like the way your description of getting completely blasted on psilocybin probably looks compared to what you saw. It's a downgraded, weird version of it. And so, you know, people like Alex and Allison or Terrence McKenna, you know, they're so good at going into that place and maintaining some kind of like long-term memory that they can come back and fully articulate it in a way that we, as people who've been there, know what it is. And then there's something comforting in that, because that does point to the idea that this is a place. We're not just mashing down the watch, or we're not just distorting our biotechnology. This is a shared place. We're all seeing the same thing. Now that could be a synaptic place or a genetic place that happens to be in humans or something. You know, we'll never be able to answer that probably in our lifetimes. But to me, it's, regardless, it's still a place. And to get back to what you were saying about our current concept of travel, you know, or our current idea that, well, I need to get my meat body over there, because if I don't, that means I'm there. And, you know, that's how I know I've been there, because I was there in my body. And then, you know, this is like the guy who founded the Hare Krishnas, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. He would, in his writings, he would was derisive of the idea that people were sending a metal ship to the moon with bodies inside of it. He would say, like, that shows where human consciousness is right now, because they think they're their bodies, and they think they need to put their body in like this box and send it to the moon, because they haven't figured out yet that you don't need metal to send yourself to anywhere in the universe that you want to go. It just requires yoga and discipline, you know, which is hilarious. And also, I remember reading that and thinking, like, but I still want there to be interstellar fucking travel, man. You know, like, I still want to get in the box and travel to the moon. That being said, you know, I think that you're onto something when you are contemplating right now that maybe our idea of going to one place or another with our meat bodies could be looked at in the future as a little archaic.
Yeah, I went to bed kind of early.
There being different dimensions, right? Like when they use
I woke up like,
number of dimensions.
might as well paint for a little while.
Access to, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that how it works, or am I reading it dumb? There's what do they think there are? Do they think there's 9 or 11 dimensions?
Usually when I look this up, it's 11, but
up to 26. First of all, those dudes are writing that shit down. Google has it off.
I can't get a good fucking angle.
Take their word for it.
From the glare. How long I've been here? About an hour.
You see those physics dudes?
Yeah, this,
crazy. Like,
I don't know.
We have to take their word for it.
That's why they believe there's.
Yeah, I decided to paint, listen to some Joe Rogan.
It means we have access to.
See, it's not bad there.
Have access to others.
Yeah.
Theoretically exist. Is it possible to transverse the distance between this dimension and that dimension?
Man, this is the thing. As I'm glad you're asking me this, because you know, I got my doctorate at the University of Bro Science, and I can't.
I got my doctorate at the University of Bro Science.
I don't understand it. I've got to do 5G. Don't mention that shit, dude. It's my fucking poodle. My poodle stuck has a 5G, man. My poodle. Like, its eyes turn just both of them white, and it's like, yeah, it froths. All the time. It just froths.
Are you near a tower?
What? Am I near a tower?
Yeah.
I didn't think I was till that happened to the poodle, but I'm just an idiot. It's got rabies.
You're playing with 5G. Your dog's trying to fight everything.
No, but I'll tell you this. My fucking poodle took out a mouse today. Like the other day, I have a cute little poodle, and like this is just a cute creature, sits in my lap. Love this dog. And we
Asteroid.
our new place.
What asteroid? I gotta look up this shit now.
Dog food, and it sucks because you're like, damn, that mouse is definitely gonna get through the doggy door.
I don't need no asteroid coming. Fucking shit up, man. We already got coronavirus, and then asteroid gonna come and give us a nuclear winter, and then that shit gonna be carrying some kind of extraterrestrial fucking germs that's gonna infect the rest of the people who survived the impact. Man, I'm tired of living inside of a Stephen King novel. I don't like this episode of Black Mirror. This shit is getting ridiculous. I just want to get back to reality, man. Can I get back to the real world? I don't like it here anymore. I do not like it here anymore. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It was kind of interesting to start with, but I'm way over this shit already.
It's killing, and it like looks at me.
Way over this shit.
No, at the mouse, at everything, just approaching anything. And so then he's like tap dancing on this mouse, and he realizes that we're approaching to like take his prey, and he just looks back like the fucking American Werewolf in London and just goes off into the shadows behind the house to finish off the mouse, and all you hear is like as he's like killing the mouse. Whoa. You know? That's a fucking poodle. That poodle's the sweetest little thing ever, but like it's also, I think, maybe something in animals knows that like, and there was a time when mice were a sign that they would eat your grain. They would fuck you up. Like they spread disease. They'd shit on your baby, you know? They were like, they're gonna piss all over your hut. Maybe there's something in dogs that just knows that. I mean, I don't think he's a sociopath. I don't think he's doing like Jeffrey Dahmer shit, where it's just like, I wonder what sound it makes as it dies.
I think they're prey animals to dogs too, because coyotes eat a lot of rodents. One of the reasons why we don't have rodents, like real rodent problems that we could, like New York City has, is we have way more coyotes. Coyotes are everywhere, and hawks, a lot of birds. Those are the ones killing. So they're prey animals. Yeah. The reason why they're so prolific, they grow so fast, and there's so many of them, is because a lot of things eat them.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, all the animals eat them. Wolves eat them. Everything that can get a hold of them eats them. Dogs too, and dogs are from wolves. So dogs see a mouse, they're like, I'm eating that. Like that must look like a delicious cold slice of watermelon on a hot July day. Oh yeah.
Just running across your yard when you're
Like,
baked.
it's a mouse. Fuck yeah. It's a perfect orange. You know those oranges where sometimes the peel just comes right free? Ah, it's so satisfying. Like very little work, and then you bite into that orange, it's just juicy, delicious. That's that mouse. That mouse just running.
That motherfucker crazy.
It's gonna run through my fucking yard.
No, and eat that mouse. That's the other thing that's really sad about it. I mean, the mouse is cute. Like this wasn't like some dangerous looking mouse. This mouse looked like it was like in Act 2.
MB, what's up,
Disney
yo?
film or something. Like, you know, like this mouse looked like sweet. Like the mouse looked like it could sing.
It was Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, and I still go to work every day.
I know, and like my heart is like breaking because it's like, what do you do? That being said, there's not much I could have done, you know?
I'll be there too, yo. Screw that. Come right with you guys.
Not that it's like literally like a physical dimension, but the reality tunnel that my poodle lives in and that mouse lives in is so fundamentally different than our reality tunnel that the mouse is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The mouse is in The Walking Dead, except it's like too cavalier.
Oh, this is the same episode. So I just looked up Joe Rogan asteroid clip, and he's talking with the same guy, but I guess it's further on in the conversation. We just didn't get to it yet. So yeah, because I haven't heard anything about a asteroid, bro.
Joe Rogan Experience.
That's the singularity, and that's you know, and it's not, we didn't make the singularity. We're a reflection of it. That's just when this particular zone or node or whatever you want to call it, it gets open for business, so to speak.
Well, if it wanted to prepare us for abandoning life as usual, this would be a good way to start it.
Yeah.
Start it with a little pandemic, lock everybody inside for a little bit, complete upending of what all that's normal.
Okay, so if this is the same conversation, let me go back and I'll just get to it naturally, because I don't know, when I searched it, it took me to that, and it was like
Thing, man. That, not that it's like literally like a physical dimension, but
so
reality.
this conversation leads into that conspiracy about the virus and the asteroid, I guess.
The mouse is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The mouse is in The Walking Dead, except it's like two Cavalier, King Charles, a poodle, and a Chihuahua. So, but for the mouse, that's The Walking Dead, and the mouse, it's got to eat, it's got to get food, so it's constantly like developed this like way that humans would develop, which I think The Walking Dead did a good job of, the comics especially, of showing the way people over time would evolve to deal with zombies, and how people would gradually completely like change or transform based on their predators. You know, like the rats and mice have done that. You know, when you see a thing that is a prey animal, you're seeing a reflection of the predator in the prey animal.
Are you aware of what's going on with rats in New York City?
I can't fucking imagine.
There's rat wars going on because the restaurants are out of business, right? So the restaurants closed down, so all the rats' food supply is gone. So rats have started moving into other rats' territories and killing and cannibalizing rats. Wow. Dude.
Rat wars in New York? What the fuck?
They didn't do anything wrong. They're just being rats, and all of a sudden the food supply got cut off.
Holy shit, man. That is so intense. And and think of that level of reality. That level of reality is a level of reality that's taking place in some of those tunnels down there, man. They don't even use them anymore. Like
there's rat infested.
Yeah, just floods of rats who have like, you know, decided that's their kingdom or whatever, that are now being invaded. That's so weird. Out down, and also it's dark. Like, just, it's all smell. So, like, the world of a rat down there, it's not like there's light in the subterranean depths of New York. So it's like there's a universe of smell. And I guess maybe I'm sure they do see down there, but the way they see is like, who knows? So they're looking at whatever they're seeing is a completely different thing. And then they have a complete different set of priorities. You know, what's that show, man? It's a really beautiful but disgusting documentary. I think it's called Rats.
Yeah, Rats. The one on Netflix.
But like, they send the weak ones to eat poison.
Yeah.
Just that alone.
We played a video the other day of a rat setting off a mousetrap with a stick, carrying the stick over to the mousetrap, dropping it. The trap goes off and it doesn't even flinch. Like, it knows how to shut off a trap.
The rats of them.
That's fucking
Dude,
crazy.
there's millions of them too. That's what's really crazy. New York City has as many rats as it has people, and that's just a rough guess. You know, I mean, I don't know what kind of fucking rat census they're taking. I mean, how do they know? How do they know? I mean, what, you get a bunch of dudes who are just experts at counting shit, and you go, "What do you think?" And like, a fuckload. You want to
a fuckload?
People? Okay, watch this. Watch this. Boom. Play that again. Watch how he walks up to it, sets it off, and watch how he doesn't flinch. That's a violent thing. That thing exploding in front of him and slamming over the ground, and he 100% knew it was going to happen.
No,
and didn't even flinch.
It's the way I act when I'm getting like a Coke out of a machine.
Oh my God.
Whatever.
Listen to an asteroid conspiracy and then watch Deep Impact. That's not a good combination at all.
This is dangerous. They'll probably figure it out.
Yeah, they know how to set those things
That's
up.
definitely not a good combination.
This is, you know, this is one of the cool essays Terence McKenna wrote that I love, that we've talked about before. If we've talked about on the podcast, I guess we've probably talked about everything we talk about already, so fuck it. But isn't that one of the things he said in this beautiful, crazy essay, that like, everything was cool until we split the atom, and then that was like, we can't, that's too much. We're
always in transit. So when we say everything was cool until, the thing about people is we're always going somewhere in terms of we're always trying to make better things. We're always moving into a better place and a better thing. That there's never gonna be it was good until. Let's solve like romantic thinking, like looking back
Oh,
at
I'm
the
sorry.
past.
I don't mean he's saying it was good until we split the atom. He was saying we split the atom, and the greater intelligences that were existing in alternate dimensions were like, hey, wait, what the fuck?
Oh.
And that's what he was saying. Is they're like, oh, they're like, wait, no, they can't do that. Like if they do, because like the way he put it, and I'm not only paraphrasing, I'm probably like misphrasing, but as I remember the essay, the idea is like that parallel timeline, the multiverse right next to ours that you see, that's the DMT realm. But the DMT is just showing you one version of it. But that is populated with spirits or aliens or whatever the name you want to give them, and they are pretty much, as far as we go, they're just like, they look at us the way we look at birds or whatever. You know, it's like they're there, but you know, maybe some of them study us or interested, and sure, maybe some of them like hunt us from time to time, or like maybe some of them possess us or whatever. But mostly, it's a world that it coexists with us in with a very limited form of interaction that is you know
Arm wrestling. Wow.
There's some like Star Trek intentionality behind that, which is like
I think you were telling me that.
As they're evolving, let's not fuck with it. But the splitting of the atom, that was powerful enough that it bled over into their realm destructively. And so they were like, that was the beginning of the end for us, not because it meant a nuclear holocaust or whatever, but because they couldn't just ignore us anymore. And that this was like, you know, I don't know, that maybe this is where the aliens are coming, or the singularity. The thing we call the singularity is not that we technologically create a machine that produces a thing that opens up a parallel timeline or creates all moments at once, but rather that's when they come here. That in the way we see that, because we're so limited in our understanding, when I do something, I'm like, I'm doing this. This is how I did it. I did it. This is like in music. If you write a song, or you write music and you're just in the room with somebody, there's some kind of law where they get credit for it because just they were there. That's a collaboration.
Oh, really?
Musicians. Someone explained this to me a long time ago, but there's an intense way of quantifying collaboration in music that is a little different than in like making like other forms of media, and I think it's a little bit more sophisticated in its way of looking at that quantification. Like every time we finish a podcast, we always have to say, damn, whenever we talk, it's like you bring, like, these conversations we have, I'm not having them all the time. You know what I mean? It's like us together and Jamie, and like something about that produces a space where we're able to have these kinds of conversations. And so quantifying that is like, how would you even fucking quantify that? But
Right.
Anyway, what I'm saying is,
Right, when certain people are around, the people that are creating the music is better.
yeah, that, you know, but so to get back to the weirdo idea of like technology not even being a thing we're making, but that we're pretending we're making because we can't see the fact that technology is crystallizing in our time frame, and that as part of that crystallization, because it's such an insane visitation, we have to, in our brains, invent a reason that it's happening. And so we're making it, and someone's like, oh, I had this idea. I'm going to work on this thing that's going to lead to a quantum computer that's going to lead to a thing. And then all of a sudden the quantum computer starts giving ideas about, well, why don't you try this? And then who fucking came up with that? And then, you know what I mean? and that's the last phase before the veil lifts, and boom, that's the singularity. And that's, you know, and it's not, we didn't make the singularity. We're a reflection of it. That's just when this particular zone or node or whatever you want to call it, it gets opened for business, so to speak.
Well, if it wanted to prepare us for abandoning life as usual, this would be a good way to start it.
Yeah.
Start it with a little pandemic, lock everybody inside for a little bit, complete upending of what's all that's normal in terms of society.
Yeah, man. I mean, that is the, and you know, I was driving over, I'm like, I want to to talk about like all the different conspiracies about it with Rogan, but I don't want to either.
What kind of conspiracies? About the pandemic?
Yeah.
What are the conspiracies you're hearing, but other than 5G?
5G, comet impact.
Comet impact?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, well, you're definitely not my wife. Because I've mentioned it so many times to my wife. She's like, Duncan, please don't. Do you like
Is there
every
one that was
day?
supposed to fly by? Like there's a meteor that's supposed to fly by in the next short amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, check out Reddit Conspiracy. My conspiracy friends, I'm not even gonna attempt to give the download on it because like y'all have done a pretty good job of putting all the pieces together out there, whether they're real or not. I don't fucking know, but I enjoy reading them late at night, and they've been giving me terrible dreams. But the asteroid theory. Okay, so we want to have, by we I mean they want to have maximum survivability for the planet. They're not out to like. They don't want people to die. They're not trying to. It's not a bioengineered thing that's designed to like cull the population, which is another of the theories. But rather, there was a plan, which is like, what's our plan if we do see a meteor is going to impact the planet? What's our plan? Do we let people know that the meteor is going to impact? Well, it depends. Like if an astronomer that's not connected to one of our labs or whatever sees it, they're going to let people know, and then so that's a whole different, I think, method of like reacting. But what if we see a thing that they don't know about, and there's some probability, even a 20% chance the thing impacts the Earth, right? Or there's some cosmic event maybe we're not even aware of, like the sun doing some weird shit that we don't even know happens because it's so deep. It's like deep data, right? So maybe it's not an asteroid, it's a cosmic event that's approaching, right? And so there's got to be a plan. And it's like, well, if we just tell people that the sun's going to do like a mild blip, which is going to destroy all satellites and destroy all GPS, and just that alone would cause runs on the bank, mass panics, like, and people would start looting and shit, and that's not, you don't want that, because the idea is like, we want them to hole up in their houses till the shit passes, so we get maximum survivability. And so the whole pandemic, this is a conspiracy theory, not real. The whole pandemic was a plan to get people to go inside, store up food, get them off the roads, and like wait for this, whatever this event is, to pass. And as soon as the event passes, you'll find that it's all of a sudden it's like, what do you know? The curves are all dropping off. What do you know? And then we'll all be back because the thing they were worried about didn't happen. Also, it could be a test for that, so that.
Can I just stop you? Because it's so dumb. It's hard to believe.
Thank you.
There's a real virus. They can image it. But I know what it looks like. They've been able to test for it, antibodies.
I feel like
test for a live.
I'm talking to my wife.
It's a real virus. It's a confusing virus.
It's so good that I married the person I married, because if not, like, I would probably be like digging a hole to like crawl into out of pure paranoia, because she does do this to me. She's like, Duncan, do you think there isn't a COVID virus? Like, you think there's no virus out there? Do you think that like maybe like, so all the scientists that have like identified COVID are all part of this thing to keep us from the meteor thing? And then I'm like, thank you. Because like I'll start getting freaked out from it, but I'll answer your question. Like if I had to answer that, I would say, oh no, it's real. I mean,
how many people have died from it now? What is the current COVID death count? 50,000. Here's something that I found out that's kind of odd. If you die of something else, so people are still dying, right? They're still dying of high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks, still killing more people than anything, right? If you die of a heart attack and you have COVID, you get listed as a COVID death. So even if you're going to die of a heart attack, I mean, people are still dying, right? Same amount of people, other than traffic accidents, which I think has diminished quite a bit because no one's driving.
Yep.
But the those people are going to die still. It's not like they live forever without the COVID.
Right.
It's not like they don't get the flu. It's not like they don't get a cold. It's not like they don't get pneumonia. All these things exist with or without COVID. People are still dying from it. But if you die of one of those things and you have COVID, it's a COVID death.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so crazy. It's like you don't really know how many people are actually getting this thing, this COVID, and having a mild reaction, how many people are having no reaction, how many people are dying.
Right.
That's when they did that new UCLA study that came out that showed they think there's way more people that have been. They think California alone is somewhere around 400,000 people have been infected, and so the fatality rate is still pretty low. But if that's the case, like, so what do? We just let people die, or do we do this every time the flu comes around too now? Like, what if we get a particularly rough flu? Is this a practice run for what we're going to do every time colds come through? And they start killing old people, or killing sick people, or fat people, or when do we, I mean, I wouldn't want to be the person that makes the call as to when people go back to work, because what if the second wave comes and a bunch of people die that didn't have to die?
Right.
But boy, if we set up a weird precedent, you know, it's kind of weird. We shut everything down.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, to me, the part that makes sense is,
we stop the spread.
Well, also, the other thing is it's new.
Yeah.
I mean, there are coronaviruses. We don't know what it is. So we don't have we have the data on the flu. We have the data on the cold. We know how to treat the cold. We know how to treat the flu. But this fucking thing, we don't know what it is.
Yo, great. Good.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Yeah, so I kind of get the, like, super, super, super intense.
It's definitely not hilarious. I will show you guys why really quick.
I made, but then also I hope whoever, and thank God people like us don't make those decisions. But hopefully whoever's like making these decisions is aware of the fact that, like, right now there's folks who are getting Meals on Wheels. There's folks who are like on unemployment and lost their job, and like I hope they're aware of the fact that, like, and I'm sure they are, that the pressure of folks who are in this horrendous economic position, the pressure on them at some point is going to exceed the humanity and compassion and empathy they're showing by not being in the
Where is
most
this?
likely to die and still staying inside, losing their job. You know, that's love, man. That's deep compassion, because you don't want someone's granddad to suffocate on some new fucking bat flu, right? That's really love. That's love, and that's it's beautiful. But at some point, that pressure is, people are going to be like, look, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to be a carrier. I don't ever want to hurt anybody. But my kid is got to have food, and I have to work. And, you know, and then I think somewhere there, hopefully by then there's at least a treatment they've discovered, or at least we get to a point where they, you know, where maybe what's happening in Sweden, we get enough data on that to realize that there's other ways to do it that don't involve complete lockdown.
Yeah, what they did was they sort of left everything open, but they all behaved as if there's the potential
What to whom?
or transmitting. Right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't wear masks. Right?
Great. What Stan was talking about, like a meteor impact, and that's the reason why they're keeping us inside the house and all. Like I don't know. Well, Stan, he's not saying that, but the guy, the guy he listened to, and this guy right here is saying that, you know, something about some comic impact theory.
And you know, look.
So this guy was on Joe Rogan just, you know, yesterday or the day before talking about that. And then his impact comet theory was like, oh, it sounded kind of weird for a second, and then it reminded me of exactly the exact same thing that somebody else said, yo. Exact same thing, bro. And so, you know, these conspiracy theories do sound weird. But then, like, when you start hearing, like, different sources from different places and at different times talk about, like, similar events or agendas or things that may happen in the future, which are probable or possible. And then you gotta, like, think about that shit too, like, maybe that could happen, you know, and if it did, if that scenario were to play out, how would it look? Who would be in charge? How would you know? And so, a couple weeks ago, I was posting something, and I posted it several times, trying to get a lot of people to listen to it. Nobody really listened to it. Nobody really gave a fuck because it sounds so conspiracy theory like and so off the wall that people are just like I'm assuming people are like, that's Travis believing anything, and I don't believe anything, but I pay attention to everything. You ain't got to believe it just to pay attention and listen to it. And so now this guy is on Joe Rogan. This is my first time hearing them talk about, you know, oh, the reason there's this virus is to keep people inside just in case this comet does make impact with the earth, and they want to position themselves for maximum survivability. So we're taking more people out of big buildings and large gatherings and from off the highways. And so if this thing does impact the earth, you know, the death toll shouldn't be as high. But I've definitely heard that same scenario already and the same reasoning. This glare is so fucking stupid. I hate the glare in here. Anyway, I'm out for the evening. I'll be back here in the morning. It's not looking too bad. It's almost 3 in the morning. I thought I heard something. Alright guys, I'm leaving out the studio, and I ain't gonna lie, I probably go play some video games for a minute and get my ass bust on some fucking Call of Duty, and I'll probably go back to bed like 4 o'clock, 4:30 or something. Get back up like 7 or 8. Come back in the studio again. So I'll stream my video games for an hour or so if y'all want to watch that shit. But if not, I'll catch y'all later on this morning. Peace.